God bless. This is Travel with Oz. Today we're going to talk about day one itinerary for Cairo. If you don't follow me, this is a travel blog. It's also going to be a life hack blog, and I'm also an immigration attorney. So it'll be a whole bunch of things. But here we are. The first day of Cairo and Giza. So you land into the Egypt airport. Number one, make sure that you apply for your Egyptian visa ahead of time. Or if you go to the airport, you can apply in person. The chances of you being denied are pretty low, but some people just would rather do it online just to make sure that they definitely have entry once they get into the country. The online fee is the same as the in-person fee. It's about 25 US dollars. So definitely make sure you look into that prior to getting into the country. But once you get into the airport, it's a really smooth process. And once you're outside of the airport is when you get to see the hecticness of Egypt. So there's going to be a ton of people saying that they're taxis, saying that they're Ubers. It's super important that you remain vigilant and also look at your phone if you order an Uber and make sure that you're looking at the license plates. They use different lettering, so they'll use like Arabic lettering, and sometimes it's a little bit difficult, but honestly I just looked at like the last three symbols on the license plate, and then I would look on the symbols of the license plate on the car that was picking me up, and I would ask too. I would say, what's my name, or can you tell me my name? And then if they told me my name, then I would get inside of the car. But it's pretty scammy, honestly, so you have to be extremely careful, because some people will say that they're your Uber just so you get in their car, and then when you get to your destination they'll charge you a whole lot more than the Uber was. So just be extremely safe when doing that. So that's step one. That's number one. You get out of the airport, make sure you got your visa, and if you're gonna get a cab or a taxi or an Uber, and I would say 100% download Uber. It's cheap and it's really safe, because you'll be able to send your directions to people that you're staying with, or just in general, you'll be able to be tracked. So definitely download Uber. And then once you get to the hotel that you're going to, make sure that you also speak to the people who are at the hotel, like the concierge or the receptionist, ahead of time too. Because when I got to my hotel, it was kind of difficult because I stayed in Giza. So Giza is where the pyramids actually are. Cairo is the city next to Giza. They're huge cities. So once you get to wherever your destination is, make sure you try to get the receptionist to meet you outside or to give you really, really specific directions, because when I got out of my taxi, it was super hard to find where I was going. The language is completely different, so I couldn't really read anything. And I definitely stuck out like a sore thumb. Like, everybody was staring at me and they definitely knew that I was lost. So if you want to avoid that feeling, try to talk to the receptionist ahead of time before you get into your cab from the airport to your hotel. So those are like the basic primary steps that you have to know. So now we're going to talk about actually going to the pyramids. So the pyramids are beautiful. Whether you go in the daytime, whether you go at nighttime, absolutely beautiful. You can actually eat at some really nice restaurants that are super affordable right in front of the pyramids. So it's nighttime or sunset, and the pyramids will be right in front of you, and you can be eating a delicious meal. But also make sure that you go at a time that's not too hot. So most tours will bring you to the pyramids really early in the morning because it's less hot. But if you go in the afternoon, expect it to be like 100 degrees. I went in August. If you plan on going later on, then the weather won't be as hot. So let's say you were going in February or March or December, then the weather won't be as hot. But if you're going in the summertime, expect it to be over 100 degrees. So once you get to the pyramids, you have to also be careful too. I never felt unsafe in Egypt, but there were times where I felt uncomfortable, and going to the pyramids was definitely one of those times. So there's just a lot of people there who are trying to scam you in some way or hustle you. Not everybody, but there is a lot of people who will try. So once you get to the pyramids, there are a ton of people who are saying that they're tour guides. And sometimes they are actually tour guides, and sometimes they're just scammers that will take you, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes in and then just say, give me the money, and then they'll go try to find other people to do the same thing with. So be extremely careful with that. If I were you, if you really wanted to go with a good informative tour, go online. You can go on Get Your Tour, and you can find people online who will definitely be able to give you a really, really nice tour of the pyramids with a lot of information. Another scam too is you'll see people outside who will say, oh yeah, I'm a tour guide, and then they'll kind of like move you away from the entrance of the pyramids and then try to talk to someone else so that they'll be like your tour guide, or they'll be like, hey, give me your WhatsApp and I'll contact these people so that they'll give you a tour. So just be super careful about that. And so that's right when you're outside. Going into the pyramids. So once you're at the entrance of the pyramids, there's a bunch of different prices. Egyptian nationals have one price, and then foreigners have another price. This is a hack that all of y'all definitely got to do. Is if you're a student or if you have a student ID, then you can get into the pyramids for like half price. Also, that applies to basically every single touristy area. Like if you go to Luxor, if you go to the Egyptian Museum, then if you're a student and you have your student ID with you, you will be able to get a cheaper admission into these places. So once you're buying your ticket, you can buy a ticket for multiple pyramids to go inside, but you just to actually go inside of the area where the pyramids are is one price. But if you wanted to go inside some of the pyramids, you could pay an additional price and then go inside of some of the pyramids. I'm gonna touch on that a little later because I actually did pay for going into one of the largest, I think it is actually the largest pyramid. I don't remember the name. I'll put it here once I get it. But once you go inside of the area where all the pyramids are, it's pretty big. So the first thing you're gonna see is the Sphinx, and then behind the Sphinx are the three largest pyramids. So what I did is I didn't buy a tour, and there's another scam too. Right when you get in, there's gonna be people who have camels, or they have donkeys, or they have little like carts that will bring you around, and they'll tell you, hey, you're gonna pay this price and I'll bring you around for an hour and then we'll come right back here to the entrance of the pyramids. So there are people who will give you a price and that is their fixed price and you're set. But then there are other people where you'll pay or you won't pay them. They'll tell you, oh yeah, I'll bring you here, I'll bring you here, I'll bring you here. Or yeah, I'll just do the hour that I told you. And then when you are done your tour, they'll charge you more money. Or they'll be like, oh, well, I helped you get on the camel, or I'm helping you get off the camel. Here's, like, now you have to pay me more money. So be very careful with that. If you do want to take one of those tours, try to find someone who is not going to scam you. Be very firm, too, about the price that you're setting. And then if at the end of your little ride, they try to charge you more, just be very firm with them. And just watch out for that. But once you're actually inside of the pyramid area, you can walk around. It'll probably take you like 45 minutes to an hour to walk to all three pyramids. They're, like I said, they're massive. They're not too far apart from each other. So what I did was I walked to the one directly behind the Sphinx because that's the one that's closest. This is just as beautiful as you think it is. God is so good. God, these are miraculous. But who you are and your love is even bigger, is even more miraculous than all of these pyramids. God, thank you for today and thank you for allowing me to see this. So I walked all the way around it and was just kind of able to admire and to look at the beauty of the pyramid. They are super big. Um, and then I bought tickets to get into the largest pyramid. So then I went to the largest pyramid, and once you go there, warning for sure, if you are claustrophobic, I don't know if I would do it. And also, if you like have trouble breathing, I don't know if I would do it. It's really small, and depending on the day that you go, like I went on a weekday, so it wasn't too packed, but I have heard that on the weekends it gets really full, and because there's so many people in there, there's less air inside, and it gets really hot. So just be careful with that. It's also not wheelchair accessible. You're in a, I don't know, thousand year old pyramid, and it's like I'm telling you, it's maybe like I could maybe go like this, um, and you're walking, and then you have to go up all these really long stairs, and then once you get to the top of the pyramid, honestly, it was super lackluster. It's just a coffin, and that's it. So I'm pretty sure when they made those pyramids, it was before they started doing hieroglyphs. So if you're expecting to go into the pyramids and see all these beautiful, colorful hieroglyphs, you're not at all. It is just, I mean, it's not cement, they're like limestones, but it looks like you're just in a kind of a cement room. The room where the tomb is pretty big, so you'll be able to walk around a little bit, but it's just a tomb and then walls, and that's it. Honestly, the experience of going into the tomb was pretty cool. The experience leaving the tomb was pretty cool, but the actual tomb itself inside of the pyramid, it isn't that great. Would I do it again? Probably not. But if it's your first time, I mean, when else are you gonna be inside of the tomb inside the largest pyramid? Like, do it. But again, I wanted to let y'all know too that it's not wheelchair accessible. You are in there climbing for like maybe 20 minutes. And there can be a lot of people in there at once, and it's really small. So just keep all those things in mind. And then once you are out of that pyramid, what you can do is go to the 360 view. So you get like a panoramic view of all of the pyramids. Um, and there's also just random little areas that are kind of like ruins of what used to be like temples and things. So outside of the really big pyramid, there is like a little area that kind of has like pillars, and it looks kind of cool. So you can check that out. And the next thing too is just be aware too that there is always going to be people around you, and make sure that you have all of your stuff really well hidden on you. And there's always going to be people who are going to try to sell you something, whether it's a tour, whether it's water, whether it's trinkets. Honestly, biggest hack: bring headphones. Bring headphones, put your headphones in. I had my headphones in, I wasn't even listening to any music. I just had them in so that nobody would bother me. Because if you have your headphones in and you just walk, no one's gonna bother you. And you just kind of gotta be firm too. Like sometimes people will come up to you, and even if you say no, they'll keep going and keep going and keep going. And just say no and give them a hard no. And then you can say no shukran, which means no thank you. And then if they keep bothering you, you just kind of just gotta walk away. Um, and I also wanted to take the iconic camel photo with the pyramids because who doesn't? Here are those pictures. And I did that. Be aware too that that does have a cost. Everything in Egypt has a cost. So I took a little camel ride. So the guy offered to take me on like a hour camel ride for a set price, but I knew I didn't want to be on the camel for that long. I knew I only really wanted the photo, so I was just like, "Hey, how long? How much would it cost to just do a 10-minute ride?" Because there's an area where all the camels are. I was like, just around this area, and he was like, I don't remember the price, but it was pretty cheap. And then he took a few photos of me. After when he gave me my phone back, that's when he was like, "Oh, can I get a tip? Like, this person gave me this much. Like, I hope that you can give me a little more or whatever. But you can give him whatever you'd like. But you definitely are, you know, you're not necessarily required, but you will probably be super haggled and harassed if you don't give them a tip after they take the picture of you. So always just keep a couple pounds on you and just give them however much you'd want um, for them taking pictures of you. So I spent maybe a total of 2 hours at the pyramids, maybe a little more. I also went to the Sphinx. The Sphinx was pretty cool. Uh, just be like I'm telling you, be very cautious too of like some people there will be in areas just to get money from you. Like, so I went into one area of the Sphinx. I was trying to get in through an entrance, and I looked, and it didn't really look like an entrance. So then, when I went back to find what I thought was the entrance, this guy was just sitting there, and he was like, "Hey, like, do you have money to get into the Sphinx?" And I didn't think that you needed a ticket, so I was like, "No, I don't have any." He's like, "Oh well, how much can you give me?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know." Like I had a couple pounds, so I just gave him a couple pounds, and he's like, all right, I'll take you in." And then he took me in through this like kind of weird entrance, and he's like, "All right, just go. Like don't tell anyone, just go." So just be careful with that too, because I'm sure I could have just found the actual way to get it and not had to pay this guy. But anyway, once you're there, people take a bunch of random pictures with the Sphinx. You can be creative as you'd like. Just be aware that there is going to be a lot of people there. So if you're trying to take a good shot, do it quick because there is going to be a ton of people around you trying to take pictures. So after the Sphinx, the camel ride, and the pyramids, I decided it was time for me to leave. And I left Giza because that's where the pyramids are. And then I entered Cairo. So this place is a hidden gem. Well, maybe I'm saying this as a tourist that it's a hidden gem, but it was one of my favorite places in Egypt and especially in Cairo, and it was called Coptic Cairo. So, for those of y'all that don't know, Egypt has one of the oldest sects of Christianity. They are called Coptic Christians. The story is that one of Jesus's disciples went to Egypt and he spread Christianity in that country. So in Cairo, there's an area that has a ton of churches. And in this area, there is churches that are very particularly designed. So they're not like Roman Catholic churches that have all these really vibrant colors and really, really intricate structures, whether they be like stone or wood. A lot of these are like wooden churches, but a lot more simple, but also really beautiful. And the artwork is very beautiful as well. I'm gonna show some pictures here. And also, the biggest and coolest church there is the church where Jesus and his family hid when they went to Egypt. So in the Bible, after Jesus was born, him and his family had to hide in Egypt because King Herod, the king at the time when Jesus was born, heard that the Messiah was going to be born and that a king and a savior greater than King Herod was going to be born. So King Herod decided that he wanted to kill all the young Jewish boys. So Jesus and his family hid to Egypt. You can go into the church where they hid. I'll add the video here. This is the cave in Egypt where Jesus and his family hid when Jesus was a child, because the Bible states that Jesus and his family ran away to Egypt for safety when right after Jesus was born. Here is where Jesus supposedly slept when he was a baby. And this is the original flooring. And that church is super, super cool. Being in this basement cave area was also really cool. They have plaques in English that say that this is where Jesus and his family hid, and that the flooring of the area is the original flooring as to when Jesus and his family hid. And then they have kind of like a little came up to me and made me feel pressure about anything. Everyone was very calm. It felt extremely safe. It was extremely clean. That in there, I spent most of my time because there's a ton of churches inside of this area. So I wanted to see all of them. I'm a Christian myself, so it was really beautiful to see a part of Christian history right in front of me. So I got to see all of that, and then there's also a also and there is a museum as well. The museum is really cool too, especially if you're into history and Egyptian history that isn't necessarily mummies. This is a very, very cool museum that's also really big and will take you a while to walk through. And honestly, such a awesome place to relax after you've been in the hot sun all day. So I did that. And then I met up with a friend. So after we did that, I don't know about all of you, but me, I love a good mall. I go to the mall whenever I can, really, in different countries, because I think it shows a different part of the country that you're in that you wouldn't necessarily get in a touristy area. Y es el mall en Egipto, en Cairo. To just eat random food, and we went to this fried chicken place called Kansas, and it was super cheap. I think I paid like $2 for an entire meal, and then after that, not only do I love going to the mall, I love going to the movies. And we went to a movie at a different mall, and this mall was even fancier than the first one that we had been to. And the movie was it was just some random American movie that I don't even think they promoted here in the States. But the cool thing about Egypt is it's kind of like an all night country. Like they had movies. This was on a Tuesday. They had their last movie, I think, was at like 12 midnight, and that's not really something you get in the States. And it was packed too. We saw this random movie that I didn't even think I never even heard of it, and we went and it was packed, and it was again super cheap to go to the movie too, and the movie theater was super clean and the seats were comfy. But this was something that I didn't know that they do in movies. So we're watching the movie, and then all of a sudden the screen goes black and then the lights turn on, And that does not happen. I've never had that happen ever at any movie that I've been to. And I just look at my friend and I'm like, in my mind, like, what's going on? And he just laughs. And then I look at the screen, and then the screen has this. So basically, in Egypt, they have intermissions. So halfway through the movie, you get a good 10-minute intermission for you to be able to use a bathroom, get food, and do whatever you want during those 10 minutes, which I think is obviously a really, really good idea because some of these movies nowadays be way too long, and it's always good, to be able to do what you got to do and not miss any part of the movie. So, just a quick run through with all of you. Just kind of wanted to summarize all of that. So, first things first, you get to that airport in Cairo, download Uber, make sure that you're looking at the 3 symbols on your Uber license plate, and make sure that whoever is picking you up, you ask them for your name, and then they give you your name, and then you're good. Don't get into random cabs. This is number one. Next thing, always just be vigilant of scammers. There will always, wherever you go, there's going to be people who are going to try to scam you and haggle you and pretend that they're people that they're not. So just be super aware of that. If you want to avoid that, the number one tip is to get a tour guide in advance, and you can get tour guides online. But if you're trying to save some money, you can try to find an actual tour guide when you go to the pyramids. Just kind of try to feel it out, and if it feels right, try it out. If it feels wrong, walk away. 3, be prepared for the pyramids to be extremely hot. Depending on the time of year that you go, a lot of people have summertime and vacation, so that's when a lot of people go, like myself. So I was prepared for it being 100 something degrees, and it was 100 something degrees. You're gonna walk a lot, so wear some good shoes. Wear white if you can, very loose clothes, nothing too tight. And you're also in somewhere touristy, so you don't really have to worry about dressing modestly. Like, obviously, don't go naked or anything, but you don't have to necessarily wear or cover yourself or anything like that. You're good wearing just like short sleeves, shorts, you're fine. Bring water if you can. If you can't, there'll be water there. If you're gonna want pictures on that camel, just be aware that you will have to pay money for that. Uh, if you want to go inside the pyramid, definitely do it if it's your first time. But if you're claustrophobic and you don't really like things being warm, and also now you knowing that it's basically just a big room with a 2 minute and nothing else really to look at. So if you don't want to do that, you don't feel the need to. And so those are basically all the tips for leaving the airport, getting to what to do in the pyramids, and then 100% please check out Coptic Cairo. It is beautiful. Probably a place that isn't necessarily as advertised as the pyramids, but it is such a beautiful place. Such a beautiful place to learn about Christian history, to see where Jesus walked, especially if you're not going to have the opportunity to go to Israel or Palestine. It'd be awesome for you to be in an area where Jesus actually was. And try to get to a mall. It's an awesome place to cool off, and a really, really cool place to see a different side of Egypt. So those are kind of my tips, and I wanted to share a quick verse with all of y'all. And the verse is, Jesus is in the desert. Jesus is hungry. Jesus sees a fig tree. He goes up to the tree, sees that it has no fruit, and Jesus tells the tree, may you no longer grow fruit. The tree shrivels, and Jesus' disciples are marveled. They say, Jesus, how'd you do that? Jesus says, truly I say to you, if you have faith, don't doubt, you can do more than what has been done to the tree. Even if you tell this mountain, get up, move into the ocean, it will happen. Then Jesus says, whatever you ask for in prayer, you'll receive. If you have undoubted faith, God will provide. So have faith. Whatever you ask for, God will give you. If God doesn't, there's a reason. Tell those negative things in your life Tell those negative things in your life, like fear, stress, anxiety, bad relationships. Tell that negativity in your life with the help of God. With the help of God, tell it to shrivel. That godliness in you, nourish it, allow it to grow, and allow that godliness, that Holy Spirit in you, not only to help you, but to help many people in that mountain. Jesus, over to our mountains. Whatever we say, God, I don't think I can do that. Tell your mountains, I serve the God of the impossible. God and Jesus make impossible possible. And tell your mountains, with the help of God and Jesus, get up and get out. And may God bless and protect y'all in the mighty name of Jesus. Happy traveling, y'all.